Sam, as we switch gears to basketball here, Nebraska obviously got back on the right track this past, 4 or 5 days, going 2 ranked wins, 1 home, 1 away. Is there, I guess, what is your expectation of this team going from 12-2 to 6-game losing streak to 2 straight ranked wins? Like, do you have any idea who this team is?
Well, I put on Twitter after the game, and I've been telling people for a week now I thought they could beat Oregon.
Oh yeah,
I did.
Right there with you.
Yeah, and that's a little bit about Oregon. I don't think that
I agree.
They're not very good. They're not as good as their ranking. I don't know what they are, but there wasn't anybody who watched that game last night wasn't like overwhelmed by anything Oregon did. Illinois, by contrast, is a better team. I mean, and they beat they beat Oregon by like 32. Nebraska just got a night where Illinois missed everything, and that's sometimes that happens. And so I thought they beat Oregon. I think they'll beat Washington. I think they can win. They can beat Ohio State and Maryland at home. Now they'll have that crowd, juiced and ready to go on Super Bowl Sunday.
And all of a sudden, Northwestern isn't healthy either. I mean,
right.
Huge injury.
Yeah, it's huge. So there's all kinds of things that they can pull off here. They can't. Obviously, they can't look past the next game. They got to one game at a time. But you've got to get some momentum and confidence in that room, and you got to start believing. Offensively, late against Oregon, it was a little bit adventurous, but they figured it out. And obviously, when Brice Williams is dialed in and he knows what he wants to do with the ball, he's good. They've gone back to now. Okay, Brice, you're not coming off the wing again. Now you're just bringing the ball up the floor. And if we got to isolate you and get you a screen up top and do what you got to do, that's what they're doing. So they've moved back to that. I think they understood that there's only so much they could ever do with the point guards that they currently have. And so now Brice is back to the point guard, and that makes sense for their half-court offense. So I think they got to get to 20 to feel really good about making the NCAA tournament. Right now they're at 14. Which means down the stretch you're going 6-3, and if you go 6-3, then you end up 10-10 in the league, and I think that gets you in. So think about it that way. And if they got to 20 in the Big Ten tournament, okay, maybe it's going to be close, but I think 20 or 21 wins puts them in the NCAA tournament. 20 in the regular season, 21 with the Big Ten tournament. Like that, if they won 19 in the regular season, then they went and won 2 and wherever the hell the tournament is, then I think they're in. Because their resume is there now. They beat Creighton. They won at Oregon. Those are huge. Those are going to be very, very important wins. Beating UCLA and Illinois is good too, because both those teams are NCAA tournament teams. So we'll see what happens.
Sam, I was just talking with a buddy off air about this over the break, and he's crunching numbers, and we're talking, Nebraska was giving up. Listen, it was a nation's worst, 46% almost from 3 during the 6-game losing streak. Coincidence, or can we bottom line, before we fast forward projection, right? Oh, Nebraska's going to be here. How closely do we just need to look at how they defend the 3-point line? Because during that 6-game losing stretch, they weren't getting to the foul line, and they're giving up 46% of their threes. Against Illinois and Oregon, Illinois was 10 of 42. Oregon is 5 of 20. You're 15 for 62 in those 2 games, 20-some%. Maybe it's just defending the arc. Nebraska scrambles with how they defend the post. They double, they triple. It's kind of chaotic. Those 2 teams couldn't make Nebraska pay on kickouts for good looks. How much do we just need to look at how they defend the 3?
I think that's important. Don't get me wrong. I think they have to defend the 3 well, and it takes a lot of effort and grit to get those things done. I think some of it too, though, is when they get to the line, they win. They shoot free throws really well, and they did that against Oregon. They drew a lot of fouls. They were physical. They got downhill. They didn't settle for too many stupid threes. They had a few they did. But they got downhill and they played a physical brand of offense too. Think of it like a run game. You got to get to the rim, just keep going down the guts of the defense. They did that, and they've got to keep doing it. They have to accept who they are. on offense and defense and grind it out. It isn't a vintage Hoiberg team. It's not a 26-win team. It's not a pretty team. But maybe you get to the tournament, and Big Ten tournament, you win a couple there, then you go to the NCAA, you grit out a 62-60 win for your first ever win. You never know how it's going to happen. Nebraska has to keep tough though and do what they're doing, and yeah, I mean, I've been impressed with the way that Hoiberg is. He had to get a little pissed off in the one press conference, but I think his team heard that. He did a few things. He never overreacts, but he did a few things, and those few things were apparently enough to get his team's attention.
That's Sam McKewon from the Omaha World Herald. Sam, we appreciate the time as always. We'll talk to you again next week.
Take care, man.
Thanks, Sam.